You Booked It, episode 91. Hey, entertainers and performers of the world. I'm your host, Dane Reese, and welcome to You Booked It, where I chat with inspiring entertainment professionals 7 days a week. By digging into their journey, we're going to discover everything you need to do to have a successful entertainment career. You know, because training usually skips that part about how to actually make your skills work for you in the real world. Fellow entertainers, my drive here at You Booked It is to share the inspiring and incredible journeys of successful entertainment professionals. We're here to support your journey. So go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join the You Booked It email community, where we dig deep into truly actionable things you can be doing right now to book that next audition, submission, or gig. If you enjoy this free podcast, please show your support and search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, where you can subscribe so you don't miss an episode, leave a rating, and review. And now, let's do this. All right, let's get started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Katie Murphy. Are you ready for this, Katie?
Sure thing.
Right on. Katie is a talent agent and partner at Pantera Murphy, the agency. She graduated from Nazareth College in Rochester with a Bachelor of Science in Musical Theater. Katie has been working with her business partner Meg for over 8 years, with her primary focus on musical theater in the office, but she also submits on TV, film, and plays. Katie has had clients work on Stranger Things, Mindhunter, Pose, Law & Order, SVU, Blacklist, Dear Evan Hansen, Little Shop of Horrors off-Broadway, Phantom of the Opera, Aladdin, and several other shows on Broadway, off-Broadway, and across the country in different tours and regional theaters. Katie loves meeting talented new actors and helping them achieve their dreams. Katie participates in different studios around the city doing showcases as well. Katie, that is a quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps, who you are, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
I'm originally from Fairport, New York, which is a cute little suburb of Rochester, New York, which you say Rochester so much better than I do. We have a flat A nasal tone, but my accent has gotten better now that I'm in the city. So yeah, I currently live in Brooklyn. I actually moved here the day after Broadway shut down, which was an adventure and a journey.
Yeah.
I am a talent agent at Pantera Murphy, the agency. And what I love about our office is that it is just Meg and I, so it's 2 females. And normally in this industry, you find a lot of men talent agents, which is great. Love some female empowerment.
For sure. And let's move on to this section. And Katie, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, so I don't have a specific quote that I live day to day by. I'm a full believer in karma, and she comes to collect. I think that truly whatever you do will directly affect someone else, which I think is a super important thing to remember. But to be true to the question, especially when I moved to the city, I always remembered this one. And it's "You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think," from a good old classic, Winnie the Pooh.
Yes, I love that. That rings true so much through our entire lives. I think about roles that I've had to do or different situations that I've been thrown in, and I'm sure you have the exact same experiences where you're like, I don't really know if I'm ready, but these people think I do. I don't know. Let's just go do it, see what happens.
Yeah.
And you make it happen, and there you go. You did it. You succeed, and you prove to yourself that you did have that entire skill set the whole time.
For sure. Absolutely.
All right, well, let's move on to this section. And Katie, look, of course, you are an entertainment professional. I am an entertainment professional, and I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, sure, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we are going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Oof. Everything you said is so true, which, one of the reasons why I gave up performing on the stage was because of how vulnerable and emotional the actors have to be on a day-to-day basis. Going into rooms or being on stage, and then plus all the activity while you're on stage, it's a lot. I think from my side, an obstacle, a challenge is getting people into rooms. Obviously, before COVID, everybody was so busy. So many people wanted to be seen for so many different projects, and casting directors only get to call in so many people because either producers have people that they want or there's not enough hours in the day. A daily challenge would be pushing and pushing for an actor that is so right for it, and either they do get called in eventually or they don't ever end up getting seen for the project. And that is just the kicker. For me, I had an actor, we're still working together, but the show closed. He had been seen originally for Book of Mormon a while ago, and they had recorded him, and it was always a struggle once you're on tape for them to see you in the room, because it's, oh, we've seen him before, it's on tape. And it's, no, an actor grows over time. It's important, in my opinion, to always try to see an actor. And so I had pushed and pushed, and finally casting's like, all right, great, we'll just give him an in-person appointment. I was like, okay, cool. And sure enough, they were like, oh yeah, like he's really changed and we're giving him a call back. And I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then he booked the job, he booked the tour. And I was so excited because I've been working with this actor for 7 years now. And it was like, finally, like this was both on our bucket list for him to do. He wanted to be in the show. He's so perfect for it. And he was on the tour and up until obviously COVID. But that was, I have a lot of those kinds of stories because I think everybody does. But that for me, I was like, oh, yes, we accomplished it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can only imagine what it's like to be an agent, because you're on the front lines. It's one thing for us as actors to be out there doing the hustle, doing the audition grind and being seen in the callbacks, but that's just us. That's just our world. But you see that, and you see that entire process all day, every day, with so many different people. I can imagine it's exciting, it's emotional, it's taxing, it's everything for you. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a whirlwind of emotions from start to finish of the day. And especially we feel it too. Really, if somebody doesn't book the job and it's between them and somebody else, it's it's really like, also, we didn't get the job. And then you've got to cheer the actor up, and it's okay. There's always next ones, but then you're also bottling your emotions of, okay, we'll just move it on to the next. I always, whenever I have to do a really hard call, I'll hang up the phone and be like, okay, like just breathe it out and then keep it moving.
Wow, that's crazy. And of course, like you said, there are so many constraints and logistics purely that are so far out of your control, even within this industry. We as actors have so many things that are out of our control when we go into that room, but just like us, you have your own constraints that are dictated by the casting agents or the directors or the producers of the show. It's something that I think a lot of people just don't ever really conceptualize because it's not really part of our world as the talent that's going into the room. But your end of the table is just as crazy and has just as many uncontrollable factors as ours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. My roommate is not in the industry at all anymore. And he went to school for musical theater and then he stopped. And especially if it's like showcase season or musical season, we have all those seasons pre-COVID, and I'll like work until 10:30 at night on my computer. And he's, are you still working? I'm like, yeah. We're still going. I got to send this push email. Like, he laughs all the time. He's, oh my God, you're nuts. And I don't know. That's what we all do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. that one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment industry. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So growing up, was always around theater. And I always knew that I was going to do something in theater. And for a long time, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a performer. My mom really likes to joke that when I was like 3 or 4, they were doing either Bye Bye Birdie or Little Shop, and one of the actors forgot their lines. And then I started to recite the whole show because that's what a little nerdling Broadway kid I was. They were always involved in community theater because my dad plays piano. And so I never knew life outside of it. Like, I never thought, oh, I'm going to be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. It was always like, oh, no, theater. Like, everybody's involved in theater. I'm also going to be involved in theater.
Right.
And growing up in Fairport, it's such a sports town. It's very conservative. And like on the playgrounds, I was performing Sweet Transvestite from Rocky Horror. So I was just an oddball. And then growing up, while I would be in like community theater shows or school shows, I always was nervous about being on stage. I didn't want people to look at me. And so then I thought, okay, I'll go to college to do vocal performance and be in opera. And my parents were like, that's bizarre, but whatever, go do it. Switch to musical theater. And always during like vocal juries, I'd be like, just don't look at me. And my voice teacher was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you acting like this? And I'm like, I don't like to be looked at because I feel like I'm being seen. And so a family friend suggested that I call Meg and was like, oh, she's an agent. You could get an internship. It'll be fine. And so I had only ever seen Entourage. That's what I knew of an agent. I was like, okay, it's going to be like Jeremy Piven's office. And I just was I wasn't nervous. And I was just like, whatever, let's give this a shot. And I called Meg and she was like, yeah, you're coming here for a showcase. Like, why don't I just set up a meeting with you? And I was like, okay. And I met with her, and the meeting wasn't even about the job. It was about life. And I think it was there was a tsunami in Japan or something. There was some sort of horrible thing that was happening. And she had a client over in Japan. And my dad was doing business with people in Japan, so we were talking about it. And it was a 15-minute conversation, and she was like, I like you. You're moving here? And I was like, yeah, I'm moving here on June 5th, which I just made up. And she was like, all right, great. So you'll start June 7th. And I was like, okay, sure. So I told my parents, I'm like, I got to move. Yeah, I was like, I got to move. I have this internship. I have no idea what I'm doing. And within the first 2 weeks, Meg really let me be hands-on. So she was like, this is, what my clients sound like musically. Give me suggestions of what you think, what projects they'll go into. And so we had worked on the Wicked breakdown, and it was for the second national tour. And she had just signed somebody, and I had heard them sing, and I was like, yeah, I think she could do Glinda. And Meg was like, yeah, me too. Let's put her in. Sure enough, she gets the understudy audition, and then she books it. And I was like, this is the best feeling, because I feel like I won. I feel like I just got like applause for doing a good job. And this girl gets this, and she could probably pay off all of her student loans. And I'm a part of it, but I'm not performing.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, I like this part of it. I really like the business side of it. And I get to be involved in theater without bearing my soul to the world. So that, I guess, in the longest story, was when I realized, yeah, I need to do this for a living.
I love that story, and that your journey, and you, like you said, you started off performing in the playground to being on stage, all those things, and you had that journey and discovered what works for you and what fits for you. Because I think so many of us that enter this industry, we enter on the performance side. It happens a lot, and it's not really our fit. And this industry is so huge and so diverse that a lot of people, we just don't know about it. We don't know that hair and makeup really exist, or costuming exists, or that set design exists, or direction, or agents exist. There's so many parts of this business that you can get into that can be just as, or even more fulfilling, in your case, for sure, than being the person on stage. And I love that, hearing your story and just opening up that door to so many people and opening up the eyes that, hey, this is an option. This is something that exists and is amazing for me. Maybe it's perfect for you.
Oh yeah, I we had an intern a few years ago, and now she's working at a different agency. But she was very much, oh, I think I want to be backstage. I don't know, and she was there with us for a summer, and she said, I like this. And I was like, good. I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you found something you want to do. It's a really cool thing to still be in the theater world and not performing. And I hope that there's more opportunities for people to experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that a bit, and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, what was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Yeah. Okay. So I have two of them, if I
Great.
can do two. So the first one was, I was working two jobs. I was being an agent and then doing the side hustle of paying off student loans and bills and whatnot
Yep.
that we all go through. And this one actor who I love and adore and is immensely talented and makes me laugh, he had just come from doing a show, and the show that he was doing, it wasn't much pay, and I knew that he was doing two jobs, and he was going for auditions for understudy Raul in the Phantom tour. And he's getting callbacks. I don't know. So finally we get the call, and it's, okay, he's booked it. And I was like, oh my God, he's gonna like give up both of his jobs. It's gonna be awesome. It's his first national tour. This is gonna be life-changing for him. And so I called him, and he was on a bus, and there was like a lot of noise, and I was like, where are you? What's going on? And he was like, I'm on my way to get a third job. And I was like, you are? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I need you to get off that bus. And he was like, why? What's wrong? And I was like, you just booked the national tour of
Ah.
Phantom. And he was like, what? He's like starting to like cry, but also like, I gotta get off this bus. And I just was so happy, because to work three jobs and live in this city sounds like a nightmare. And I knew that this was life changing for him. And he did it for 4.5 years. And once the other Raul left, he became the Raul, and he closed out the tour. And I've seen him, oh gosh, 5 or 6 times on the road. And he was brilliant. And one of the best booked it moments. And then the second one, so a little like side fact, I do love like crystals and astrology, but I also love serial killers. I don't
Great.
know if that makes me a massive weirdo. I think that their stories are so interesting. So when Mindhunter came out, loved it first season. And then when I heard it was getting picked up for a second season, I was like, I got to have somebody on the show. I have to have somebody on that show. I love the show. And so the breakdowns come out, and we see this character of Wayne Williams. And I was like, this one actor that we rep looks like him, but like way thinner. I'm like, maybe they'll see the face and be like, okay, this could, happen. So he went in so many times, so many self tapes, met with the whole team, I think 5 or 6 times. It was a lot. And then he booked it. And it was like his first real big TV thing. And it was just so cool, because it
Very
was
cool.
one of the shows that I love. It was him playing this really challenging role where he had to really truly change his body to play this role, and then he
Yeah.
lost it all again, which I'm just so completely envious of how somebody could do that. But he's brilliant, really brilliant, and he gives such empathy to the character in a way. I don't know if the interwebs I'm assuming all have seen Mindhunter, but this one character, it's like the whole thing is, did he do it or did he not? And you are watching it and you're like, oh my God, I really hope he didn't, just because he plays the role so brilliantly. But those are like my really two cool booked it moments.
Yeah, very cool. I love hearing your side of this industry so much, and how exciting it is for you as an agent. I love how involved you are with all of your clients. And it's amazing to me. It's the first time I've ever really had a conversation with an agent. And this is so great. I love hearing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I like to think that our office, because we are small, and it's interesting with us because, I come from very vocal background. I understand our actors' vocal cords and their struggles and all that kind of stuff. But Meg used to be a director, and her husband is a world-renowned acting teacher. So she really understands, the actors and loves the downtown scene. And so we really together have a very eclectic office, and we really understand actors, and it's very much, I like to say, a manager agent in one. So meaning we're very hands on. If you need an acting coach, we can suggest a few people. Voice teachers, I can suggest some people. Even ENTs, we know of two great ENTs or headshot photographers. It's really, we want our actors to succeed, and we want to really help guide them to do that. A career is really about longevity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up and said, look, it's not about that one gig. While you want that one gig, this is about the long term. This is about your career. It's not worth
Absolutely.
destroying your instrument for one thing. It's about doing it forever.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I've had a few of those conversations pre-COVID, but where I would say to an actor, a few times I was like, I'm hearing the way that you're speaking and it doesn't sound normal. What's going on? I think you should go see an ENT. And sure enough, they're like, oh yeah, like I'm pushing a little bit too much. It's a little bit hoarse or whatnot. It's something that I think most actors go through, and they're like ashamed to talk about the vocal struggles. But I think the more times that people talk about it, like the more open and free it is. But yeah, we're very much concerned for our actors' safety and health and whatnot.
Yeah, that's so good. And let's move on and take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And we've talked about it a little bit. We are amidst this crazy global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Yeah, we have some actors who are doing a bunch of self tapes. We have one who's hopefully still depends on COVID. We had NDA whole situation, signed on with that. But I'm really looking forward to the new work that is going to be coming out. I think, we've had a lot of time to nurse our creative energy, and I'm hoping people are really writing great stories and just being really creative. It's funny, my cousin's a writer out in LA for some TV shows, and my dad and her dad were talking about how she's been like writing on her downtime. So I think that a lot of writers are doing that. So I think that'll be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to hoping that with the entertainment industry that we're going to get some new exciting stories. There are going to be more opportunities for actors of all different shapes and sizes and genders and races, and actors will get a chance to be seen. I think it's really great that everything's happening online, because I'm hoping that casting directors really have more time to see these actors and really meet new people. I think that that's great. Just because before COVID, it was always go, 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 go. And I'm even at fault of it. It was like, okay, I've got to get this done. It has to get done in the next hour. And I think now it's everybody will appreciate what our job is and give it more time and opportunity, and maybe not be jaded.
Yeah.
I think that people were getting a little jaded, actors, agents, everybody in the industry. And I think now it's, I tell my friends and I tell some of my actors, I think that Mother Earth put us in timeout and gave us this pandemic of, okay, be grateful for what you have. So I'm hoping that people will be more grateful and happier and hopeful and more, I don't know.
Yeah, I love it. I love all that insight. I love that. That's really great. And I think you're right. Before COVID, everything was go, 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 and everything was on a crazy time crunch. And there are times when things have to be that hectic and busy, but I think a lot of times we put that pressure on us when it doesn't really need it. Things could be more
Yeah.
relaxed, and you can still create the same end product in the same time frame, but without all that added stress and the added panicking.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on to one of my favorite sections of the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
I don't think anything.
Great. And the second question, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received is from Meg, and it's always to take chances on young actors. We have a guy who we're working with him, and he had not a lot of stuff on his resume, and we were just both drawn to his headshot. And Meg was like, I bet he's a phenomenal actor. We saw his work then after that, and we called him in, we worked with him, and he booked a guest star in Law and Order as his like first big booking. I was like,
Wow.
what? And she always is very much, take a chance on this actor, always advocate for your actor. And that is something that we always try to do. And that's one of our philosophies for sure. So that's the best advice.
Yeah, I love that. And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Yeah. For me, it sounds so cliche, but I'm just going to say it. Self-care. I'm a very selfless person by nature. And then being an agent on top of that, I never fully think of myself. So I always, when I'm most successful, I've had a workout in the morning. I have a great breakfast, and then that gives me the energy and the recharge to really put all of my full focus. And if I don't at least give myself like an hour and a half, I'm like at 50% of the best version of Katie. So for sure, self-care.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm glad you brought that up as well, because I feel like only within the last couple of years has it become a mainstream thing. That kind of went going hand in hand with mental health and anxiety and stress and things like this, that it's finally becoming a mainstream topic that we can actually talk about and not have to hide from everything and keep bottling things up, because it's such an important part of just being a generally healthy person, but so much in our careers, in a career that is so high and low all the time, that we really have to find ways to ground ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. And whether that be getting your nails done or putting a face mask on or meditating, working out, I've done it all. And it's one of the most important things to really recharge and let yourself have a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, a podcast, maybe a piece of technology that you've found is helping your career right now.
Yeah, I think Deadline is a great tool for people to keep up with and look at to see what's been canceled and what's reshooting and who's casting what. It's great for TV and film. Video wise, any of the HBO, Netflix, Hulus are great just so actors can see, what TV shows that they've missed, because now we have all of this time so you can catch up on anything and to see, okay, could I fit into this world? I like to not say type, I like to say world, because each show has a general world and then you could play many different characters in that world, right?
Yeah.
So it's really good, like to watch Succession, which was going to start shooting and then COVID hit, or For Life, which is now starting to cast their second season. So it's like, okay, I can see myself in that world. I think it's very educational. You don't have to watch the whole series. I'm not saying that, but at least one or two episodes to give you an idea to, feel like when people go in for casting directors and they don't know the show, it's just not a very informed audition. So that will also help. I think Disney Plus is great just because Hamilton's on there. Hamilton's on there, Newsies is on there, and it just reignited me to see live theater again and hear an audience. I do have to say, once that downbeat hit, I totally started crying. I was like, oh yeah, I miss live theater.
Yeah.
Those are really great tools. Obviously, I'm not a huge reader like of long books, but which is awful, I know, but I'm a visual learner. But if you really love to read, start reading some plays and getting maybe some new monologues under your belt, or trying to see what scenes would work for you. I think that's all really helpful.
Yeah, that's all wonderful advice. And you're so right. There's so much to be learned from the TV shows that we mostly watch for entertainment, but using them as case studies to figure out where you belong in this industry. So good.
Yeah. Yeah. I watch all of these types of shows, but I then have to watch like the garbage reality TV Bravo Real Housewives world to turn off my brain, because I started to find out that once I was watching the shows, I was like, oh, I wonder what this character arc is going to be. And I wonder if like maybe a few of my clients could be involved in that character arc. And I was like, okay, wait, it's like 11:30 at night. I've got to shut this brain off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. The fifth question: if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
I would keep it exactly the same, because I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And if you switch one thing, everything else could possibly get switched. And I'm pretty lucky and pretty fortunate. So, no, with all the struggles that I've had in my life, I would keep everything the same.
Love it. And the last question: what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
My golden nugget is, I have a few of them, but I want actors to realize that the people behind the table want to see you for exactly who you are. When you go into a meeting or an audition and you're more focused on what's happening behind the table and you're not living in your truth, I think that's when you'll miss the job. We want to see what you could bring to a character, and we want to see the honest and truth behind it. And especially if happens more times with like young actors, like right out of college, we can tell that they're trying to be something that they think that we want them to be. And it's such an uncomfortable meeting when that happens, because we can't connect to that. I want to be able to connect to who you are, because that's how I'm going to be able to tell if we can have a working relationship, because I have to be able to market you. And I also want to be able to just have a conversation with you of, hey, how are you? How's your family? So that's my first little nugget. And then my second nugget is, and this is just like a general one, like always be nice to every single person. Always thank your pianist. Always thank your hair and makeup team. Always be behaved and just really decent, because you have no idea where they're going to end up in the industry. And besides talent, like people hire people because they like working with them, truly. And that seems so simple, and sometimes you can forget to do it, but I'll always notice, either if we're at like an equity like required showcase, and if they're not thanking the pianist, to me I'm like, come on, they just played for you and they sight read and their music could have fallen off and whatever, and you didn't thank them. No, come on. But really, truly be nice to everybody.
Yeah, I think that is such sound advice. Love that. And to wrap up this interview, Katie, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, so you could check out my Instagram, which is kgmurphy4, and you can see my lovely fur babies that are staying at my parents' house. There's lots of photos of them. You can also connect with our office Instagram, which is PM The Agency. You can check out our website, which is panteramurphytheagency.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Katie just mentioned into the description of this episode, so you can easily connect with her. Katie, thank you so much for being here and sharing your side of the industry. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me. This was lovely. I loved it.
Thank you so much for joining us today. My one call to action for you is to go to youbookeditpodcast.com and join our free email community, where we dig deep into a continually growing resource of truly actionable things you can be doing right now to help advance your entertainment career. Don't miss an episode. We have a new guest 7 days a week. Search for You Booked It on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app and subscribe today. All the best to you. We'll see you tomorrow.